Congressman, thanks for being here. First off, what was your reaction to this attack and what's happening in Ukraine right now?
Well, we've known about these plans for quite some time. As we sort of war-gamed Putin's options, I would say this is the worst-case scenario. All three of these divisions moving in, putting a noose around the neck of Ukraine, going into the capital city, and far beyond the Donbass region, and then south up from Crimea, maybe going as far as the Odessa port on the west of Ukraine near Moldova. So this, again, is our worst fear, that he would literally take over the entire country. Put in perspective, this would be the largest invasion in Europe since World War II, since Hitler invaded Poland.
So what's your view on more sanctions against Russia?
I think it's absolutely necessary. In fact, I thought we should have had sanctions prior to an invasion. But now we're in a post-invasion world. And I think it's important we come together as Americans, but also our NATO allies and the G7 and stand united in very, very tough sanctions against the banks, the oligarchs, and also export controls into Russia to make them pay a very high price for the blood that Putin has on his hands right now.
Do you feel we're seeing that kind of unity in Congress right now?
Oh, I think you will. I think you will. In fact, I've had many calls from my Democrat colleagues wanting to work, across the aisle on this. We tried to get this done prior to the invasion, and things broke down in the Senate. But I think now we're in a different world. I mean, this is the post-invasion world. We have to make Putin pay a very high price for what he's done, and also we need to help arm the resistance movement that's going to take place in Ukraine after the invasion.
And I know there's been a lot of debate over whether more should have been done sooner. The administration has held strong on the need to act unified along with our NATO allies, and so they thought it was really important to be in lockstep, and that may have held some things back. But overall, how do you think the administration has handled this so far, and what do you want to see going forward?
Look, I've been critical, as you know. I think the Nord Stream 2 decision to waive congressionally mandated sanctions in the interest of the United States didn't make any sense to me because it allowed Putin to complete his pipeline into Europe. And I don't think that ever should have taken place. I think that emboldened Putin. This whole thing started last March, and that coupled with a new start, coupled with looking at what happened in Afghanistan, I think Mr. Putin saw what he thought was a weak president. He's wanted to do this for a long time, Diane, and I think his calculation was now is the right time. But we're here now. It happened, and I think it's important we unify as a nation.
And so what do you make of former President Trump's comments appearing to praise Vladimir Putin as a genius and saying that he would like to do something similar on the southern border?
We need to deal with the southern border, but I think Putin he's a thug, he's a murderer, he's a once KGB, always KGB. He runs basically a mafia organization in Russia. I have no praise for Mr. Putin, and again, he's got blood on his hands right now.
And President Biden has promised not to put American troops in harm's way. So what role, if any, do you think U.S. forces should play in this conflict?
Well, that's important for your viewers. I mean, Ukraine's not a NATO country. So Article 5 is not going to get triggered, and that would trigger a troop deployment of NATO forces, including American. But that won't happen in this case. The best we can do at this point is, again, the crippling sanctions, provide the resistance fighters with ammunition and sniper rifles, which we have done, and stingers and things like that, but also stay unified. And I would like to see more troops being deployed to Poland, for instance, which is more near the Russian border than Germany. And I think there are a lot of options we can be taking right now.
And Congressman, I asked you how you thought the administration was doing. I've heard you say over and over again that you think we need to be unified here. So how do you think Congress is doing with this conflict so far?
Well, I think Congress can't sit by idly. I think Congress is relevant here. We're going to see what sanctions the president proposes today. We're going to meet in a bipartisan fashion to get a package of sanctions out and assistance to Ukraine, as well. I think the time for partisan bickering is over. There's a lot of blame to throw around here, though. I do worry also what will happen, President Xi in China, as they look at Taiwan and what's happened here. I worry, as I got back from Israel, what the Ayatollah, Iran's going to do. We're in negotiations with them right now on their nuclear bomb. And Kim Jong-un with his rockets that he shot off last month.